What did you go out into the desert to see? It's an interesting and profound question. We spend much of our lives searching for happiness, for the right job, loving relationships, or even the perfect Christmas gift. But what are we really looking for in the depths of our soul? And how do we know when we find it? I have a friend, Michael, who was raised in England and recently moved here to Fairfield County. He grew up agnostic, not intentionally, he just never considered the possibility of God. After graduating from high school, he attended Cambridge University to study philosophy. And through his studies, he concluded that God does exist. So if God exists, he asked himself, then what is God like? He explored a number of faith traditions to try to find an answer to this question. And after studying Catholicism, he found that he had no real issues with Catholic doctrine. So he said to himself, since I have no objections to Catholicism, therefore then I must be Catholic. He considered himself Catholic before he even formally entered the church, which he did soon after. His search for truth led him in a very systematic and logical way to truth, and not truth in some abstract meaning, but truth in the person of Jesus Christ. The search for truth is not always as simple and straightforward as Michael's experience. Jesus makes this clear to the crowd. First, he asked them if they went to the desert to see a reed swayed in the wind. The reed has no firm conviction as it's pushed in whatever direction the wind pleases. How often have we found ourselves like the reed, wandering aimlessly through life without purpose or meaning, only to realize that one day we are lost? Then Jesus asked if they went out to find someone dressed in fine clothes. Sometimes we hope to find truth and purpose in the things of this world or through our hobbies or the work that we do. And yet once again we discover that we still haven't found what we're looking for. Questions of doubt enter our minds. Why are we not satisfied when we feel we're doing everything right? Why are we not content when we're doing everything that our friends and family seem to be expecting of us? And finally, Jesus declares to the crowds their true desire to find a prophet. Perhaps not just a prophet, but something greater, a Messiah. Is this not our heart's desire as well? This certainly describes my friend Michael's journey. After graduating from Cambridge, he became a barrister and practiced law for 5 years. In addition to his legal career, at the same time, he worked as a professional singer and also owned a restaurant. So by all measures, he seemed to have everything that anyone could possibly want. And yet the work that God began in him in university was only just beginning. He took a job as the music director at a Benedictine monastery, and while he was working and living there, he heard that still small voice within, the voice of the Holy Spirit, calling him to go further, to go deeper in his faith. This led him to discern a vocation to the priesthood, so he entered the seminary. Then while studying in Rome, he met a priest from our diocese who invited him to come and work during the summer at his parish in Ridgefield. Michael chose to come because he felt a deep holy desire that God was calling him to serve our diocese in some way. And it was in Ridgefield that he would later say, I saw the face of Christ in the people of Fairfield County, the same Christ I have always sought to encounter. Just a few months ago, Bishop Caggiano ordained him to the Sacred Order of Priesthood. Father Michael Clark is now a high school chaplain at Trinity High School and assists at St. Thomas More Parish in Darien, thanks be to God. A remarkable journey for a remarkable man, and yet each of us is called to the same encounter with truth. If only we surrender ourselves to allow truth himself to take us somewhere unexpected, someplace uncomfortable. The road will not be easy. It will be filled with challenges and difficulties. But we must seek the truth with all of our hearts and all of our strength. To quote the book of Proverbs, if you cry out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as hidden treasure, then you will find the knowledge of God. According to St. John Henry Newman, when we labor to change our nature through God's help and serve him truly, we begin to understand the beauty of holiness. But the question still remains, how do we know when we found what we were looking for? Well, Jesus makes this clear to John's disciples who ask him, are you the Messiah, or should we be looking for another? Jesus tells them to report what they've seen and heard. The blind regain their sight, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, deaf hear, and the dead are raised. The poor have good news proclaimed to them. But in addition to these miracles, I'm sure John's disciples experienced something much more personal in their encounter with Jesus. Mercy, kindness, goodness, patience, peace, joy, and love. We will know with certainty that we found what we're looking for when others see the fruit of the Holy Spirit within us. Is this not at the heart of our Advent preparation? To conform ourselves more perfectly to Jesus, so that we see Jesus in others, and others see him in us. So what are we searching for? Are we looking for a reed swayed in the wind, or someone dressed in fine clothes? No, we're looking for something much more than that. We're looking for peace and happiness, a solution to our troubles, a remedy for what ails us. We're looking to find love and to be loved. And the good news is that what we are searching for is already within us. We received it at our baptism. It was strengthened at our confirmation, purified when we go to confession, and nourished when we receive Holy Communion. God dwells within us. We may not fully appreciate or comprehend it, but rest assured, in a few moments on this very altar, we will encounter truth. Truth in the person of Jesus Christ. May this encounter give us the conviction to conform our lives more perfectly to his, and so prepare ourselves